Flosstube. Welcome back. It has been a while. It's been really busy here, but I'm glad to be here. My name's Tamara. My pronouns are she, her, and this is the channel at Cut Stitches. This is a channel about cross stitch, and boy, do I have some cross stitch to show you. It's been a long time, and it was either now or never, so here we are. This video may be a little less polished than usual. I'm going to try and insert before and after picture, not before and after, just before pictures. You'll see the after here. But I do have a lot of new starts, so hopefully there won't be too much editing. And I have a couple of fully finished objects I wanted to share with you, and then just some progress on some whips that I've done. It's been, like I said, 3 months, so I've put in about 40,000 stitches, maybe more. So some things have seen a lot of progress, some things have just seen a little. I tried to pick out the whips that I thought might be the most worked on, though as the months go by, these things kind of escape my mind. I'm using Notion to try and help me keep track. But at the end of the year, I'll do a whip parade fully, and I'll do some before and afters, and we can kind of see what the year's brought us. But for now, I'm just going to show you what I've been doing, and you know, hope you enjoy what you see. So first things first, I'm going to start with the things that I fully finished, and I'll talk a little bit about the framing that I did and kind of how that went. Then I'll dive into my new starts, which I said I think there's about 10 of them. And then for whips, I've got also about 10. So this might be a little bit of a longer video. I'm gonna try and keep it brief, but if I ramble, I apologize. I missed you guys, and if you haven't done a video in a while, you get a little rusty, you kind of forget how to act in front of the camera. So first things first, I reframed this piece here. Sorry for the ring light glare. This is Coffin Buzz by Plum Street Samplers. It's a free chart. It was one of the first things that I cross-stitched after really coming back to cross-stitch, and it's done in a DMC variegated floss. It's the brown and gray one. You can see it there. I can't remember the number, apologies. It's just on a 14 count Aida that I coffee dyed. And the frame is by Signed and Numbered. I'll show you the back. Which is on Etsy. I learned about this shop through Lindy Stitches, through Stephanie. And I thought I'd give them a shot. It's a handmade frame. It's really well made. My stepfather also makes frames. It's just not cost effective to ship out here from Idaho. Otherwise he'd be my frame supplier. So I do know good quality frames when I see it. It's nice. It's a nice deep frame. Let's see if I can show you the width here. So I did go for the deeper style in case I needed to move the I forget what those are called. In case I needed to move those out, the little pins that hold in the back of the frame. But actually it worked pretty good. I was a little nervous because it was Aida, you know, it's a little bit thicker fabric, but I think it came out really nice. This is a charcoal gray stain, and this is like a natural wood. So I went with the two-tone. I thought it worked really nice with the two-tone floss. I am going to hang this by my coffee station. Previously, this was just a, it was just in like a plexiglass cheap frame. It didn't even fit the dimensions, but it was the first time I'd put anything in a frame, and I was just so excited. Yeah, it's beautiful. I really like it. Okay. Put that down safely. It is glass. And the next thing I framed, which has got a little smudge on the glass, one second, is September's Revenge from Maximum Cross Stitch. I finished this October. I think it took me 2 months to fully finish it, and then I fully finished it, I think, in May or June. I bought a frame through Art to Frames. It's a website, arttoframes.com. They sometimes have really good deals, and you can buy custom sized frames. And what I really like is I took a picture of the work, and you can sort of see what the different matting options and frame options look like. And for this one, there we go. The frame itself, I chose one with like sort of a red bobble accent in the scroll work to match sort of the red of the double mat, to sort of pull out that red in the house. The piece has got a lot of blues and purples and the oranges, but I really wanted the house to stand out a little bit more than usual. And what I love about this frame is that, you know, from a distance, sorry for that ring light reflection, this is not museum quality glass, this is basic glass. Framing is expensive, but anyway. So what I love about this is that the frame, I feel, doesn't distract from the stitched work. But if you get up close to take a look at the stitching, or you want to see something in more detail, that's when the details of the frame really pop out and provide that sort of extra bonus of detailed work. Beautiful frames, very nicely made, very quick to ship. Signed and numbered took a little while. This was very fast. I got it within, I think, a week and a half. I framed it myself. I pinned it. I didn't lace it. I haven't papered the back yet. This was my first time really framing, there's another smudge, really framing something myself. It was a good experience. I had only ever pinned on foam for other things, not to go in a frame. And, you know, where you have these lines that you want to maintain the same sort of margins around, it can be really tricky. You know, there's a reason why framing at a framing store and pinning or lacing costs so much, because it is quite difficult to get perfect. And this is not perfect, but it's done, and done is good enough for me, at least right now. So I love it. I look at it every day, and I'm just amazed that I stitched it. I'm amazed that I framed it, and I'm very happy to have it on my wall. The fabric, this was a kit. Let me see. Oh no, it was just a kit with the floss. So this is actually on Fiber on a Whim Latte 32 count Lugana, but it's done with the kit Roxy Floss Co. flosses. I did do a change now that I remember. The letters originally were in sort of that white color that the windows are in, and I changed it to sort of the lightest purple, just so it would stand out against my fabric a little bit more. Oh, I love it. Okay, so now let's talk about new starts. I don't think I'll be able to do it in order. I'm just going through my Notion to see. Oh, I might. They'll be relatively in order. So the first thing I started after I saw you last is I did finally start the Deadly Aquarium Sal by Lola Crow Stitches. I bought a special bag for it. This is by Sheba Designs. It's a really nice bag. So I have it as a PDF, so the chart when it's finished will look like this. I am very behind because I started late and I also haven't kept up. I'm stitching mine on 32 count Bestitch Me in Luna Moth. This is a Lugana, and this is where I've gotten to. So I'm almost done with the first release of the sections, but I haven't stitched the frame hardly at all. I think it looks beautiful on the fabric. I think the colors are just gorgeous. This is a little puffer fish. He looks really funny without his little spikes, but I haven't done the back stitching yet. And this is I'm using the called for DMC. And I started this on 5/25. It's helpful. All right, little zip. Let's see. Move this one out of the way. The next thing I started, oh no, it's out of order already, sorry. I started this March 24th. I started the Mirabilia Cathedral Woods Goddess. I'm using all of the called for floss and beads, including the Krennic. Let's see, what am I stitching this on? 32 count vellum, is that right? Yeah, 32 count vellum by Picture This Plus. I've got little threads everywhere. And I've worked on this a couple of times. Well, you can actually see that sparkle. And I started bottom left. So these are all of the little things from her. I don't know what it is. I think she's like a garland. She's holding a garland. So this is like all of that. This is the very beginning of her dress at the bottom. So this has, you know, the Karen water lilies, the Krennic, and it's a lot of fun. This is my first Mirabilia, but as you'll see, as I continue going through my new starts, not my last. So that was started on March 24th. Maybe I've shown you that one. Oh well, I've worked on it since then, so you know, you're welcome. The next thing I started was a full coverage piece. I started this on April 27th. It is, the final result will look like this. And I didn't put the designer's name down. I'm sorry, I'll put it in the, it'll be across the screen here. I finished watching season 2 of Loki, and I was inspired. And I won't, no spoilers. Trying to figure out which way it goes. It goes this way. So I'm doing this one as color completion. So I've started with 310 first. There's a lot of 310 in this, and I wanted to sort of see it come to life. So this is Yggdrasil, I think is the way you say it. Tree of Life. It's on 28 count easy grid. It's beautiful. And the way I'm working on this one is, as you can see from all my needles here, I have the clover needle holder. And so what you do is you thread all of your needles at once, and then you can put them all in here. You spin it around like that, and the threads get wound up, and then you take one needle out at a time. And I find that, excuse me, it really speeds up my work. It holds about, I think it's 10. It holds about 10 at a time. I've also been a little under the weather. That's another reason. I've been sick. I also have been incredibly dizzy. If you ever suffer from vertigo, I've had vertigo for about 3 months now. It's not been pleasant, but I can stitch, so it's okay. The next thing I started was In Praise of Pollinators. This is in a Joanna 1966 bag. You can find her on Etsy. I picked this bag because it's got bees. It will look like this. It's by the Blue Flower. I think there are a couple of sales going around for this. I'm not keeping up. I start along, I don't finish along. I am using mostly the called for floss, a couple of over dyed conversion where I didn't have the DMC, but very true to the colors. I'm stitching this on a 40 count Seraphim in the colorway Mizzle. And I started in the bottom left. It's really pretty. This is the cactus that comes up. I love this little beetle. It was so much fun to stitch. So a long ways to go on that yet, but very fun. All right, so after that it was the Deadly Aquarium cell that I started. And then I started the Woodland Castle. This is in, who is this bag maker? I don't know if I have it in here or not. This might also be a Shiba Designs. No. If I can find the bag maker, I'll put it in the description box below. So Woodland Castle is a Design Works pattern, so it's a kit. And I'm using the kit fabric and the kit floss. I kept seeing Amy Loves Toads working on it. And I kept being like, I don't need to work on it. It's okay. I don't need to work on it. It's all right. And then I needed to work on it. I needed to start it. So it's a 14 count Aida. And I center started because I just wasn't sure about the margins. And so I've done some of the back stitching. So the castle has partial back stitch done, and I've worked my way to the deer. Oh, it's just so beautiful. It's a lot of fun to work on. It's a lot of color changes, but it's beautiful. And I can't wait to see it. It's a very, like I said, it's full coverage, and it's a kit, so I've resorted to my old methods of highlighting to keep track, because otherwise I was just getting lost in the pattern. Okay. The next thing I started was Within a Dream. This is the Artsy Housewife. Everyone was starting it. Excuse me. Everyone was starting it, and I could not resist. I absolutely could not resist. This is a Pepper Pot Shop bag. I love her bags. I'm stitching my Within a Dream on 40 count Duxbury. And I started in the bottom. And my floss is a floss conversion to overdyes, but you know, similar to what was called for. Some of them might be the Roxy Floss Co conversion. So for instance, I am using the colorway Crooked, which is this sort of speckled green. But in other instances, I'm just using something that was similar, that seemed right. Sorry, it's upside down. It's beautiful. It's a lot of stitching, but it's so nice. It's so nice to work on. I can't wait to get back to that one. I started this on 6/18. All right. The next thing I worked on Crafty Husky. That is who that other bag was, and this is also Crafty Husky on Etsy. The next thing I started was another Mirabilia, and I wasn't going to, but I saw the fabric and had to start it right away. I've already had it in my stash. I've loved this pattern for forever. As an English major, anything to do with Shakespeare is my jam. It seemed appropriate within a dream, being a Midsummer reference. And this is on a 32 count Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers Haunted Night. And I'm going to hold it back here. So it is a dark fabric with the moon and these sort of like impressions of trees, and that's my stitching. So I started in the bottom left, so that's this fairy here, and I started working my way up. Oh, and it's so beautiful. I worked on this so much. I put so much work into this. Like, this is a lot. It's a lot of stitching. I mean, you don't want the loose threads there. But it is a lot. It's full coverage, you know? And this is where the beads come in. And there are also beads. Listen, you think you've got your orts under control, and then you film a Flosstube. There are beads that go down here too, all along the bottom of the dress. I am so excited for this one. All of the called for floss, including the Krennic, which I haven't started yet, but it's coming up. One sec. Sorry about that. I thought I was totally over being sick, and you know, you talk long enough and that's not the case. So the next thing I started was a big project, but right now it's just this. It's All the Hills Echoed by Blackbird Designs. It's Loose Feathers for the Birds number 4. And I was watching Brenda and the Cereal Starter, and I was struck by one of the patterns, and she mentioned she was planning on doing it all on one piece of fabric, all 9 patterns, and I lost my mind and I instantly went out and kitted everything up. So This is my For the Birds piece. I'm stitching all 9 patterns on 40 count Ren with the called for flosses, which are beautiful. All 9 patterns are gorgeous on their own, but then when you see them all together, you know, you can tell a story. And I was obsessed with this, but not so obsessed that I could finish that stitch. But I put a lot of work into it already. So this is the entire width, and this is the height. So it comes across here. My plan is to leave 10 stitches in between each one. And I love the colors on this. I think they'll all just really shine. Okay. The next thing that I started, because we're not done yet, there's 2 more. We're 30 minutes already, I think. Oh, geez. The next thing I started was Live on Little. I've seen everybody stitching it, and finally I realized, yep, I want to stitch it too. So it's Live on Little by Plum Street. I am stitching mine on a 36 count Fabrics by Stephanie called Toasted Almond. I started at the top right and worked down with the called for floss. It's beautiful so far. I can't wait to get some of the reds in there and blues. I think they'll really pop on the fabric. I'll give you a little floss toss in case you want to see. So I think they'll be really beautiful. There are some flosses like the 644, which this fabric is very close to, but this floss in particular is surrounded. It's like the sail of the boat and around the windows, so it'll be surrounded by the blue. I do plan on changing the quote. I have a couple of options. I loved what Eclectic Possessions did, changing it to the lyrics from Into the Mystic. Love that song. But I have some ideas too that I'm sort of working around and playing with in my pattern creator to see which I like. And the last thing I started as my Olympic start. It seemed to be fitting, given that it is an enormous pattern and a huge effort and may not be finished by the Olympics 2028, but maybe 2032. We'll see, but I do plan on working on it for all of the Olympics, and that is Dutch Beauty by Permanent of Copenhagen. I had done a start before on a 46 count and I didn't like it. It wasn't the 46 count that was the problem. I had chosen a color that there would have been a little bit too much ghosting, and then I was changing colors and I didn't like my choices, and then I just didn't want to work on it, and so I said, nope, scrap that. Let's start over and let's do something else. So I did. This is on a 32 count, entire yard of fabric. Pistachio Latte by Grace Notes. Is that right? Just check. Pistachio Frappe, excuse me, by Grace Notes Fabric. And I am doing a floss conversion. Again, Emily, inspiration a little bit. to darken the colors up a little bit. So she has her conversion posted on her Instagram, I believe, or somewhere. I think it's her Instagram. And so I took some of that, but I also deepened some of the other colors as well. I wanted the greens to really be bold and dark, so I changed to a 936 for the greens. And I think on this like subtly green fabric that's kind of golden toned, it's beautiful. And you can see how much fabric there is here. It's it's gonna be big. It's not quite a bed sheet, but maybe, you know, a couch blanket. But I love it. I've been working on it every night while we watch the Olympics. We were watching gymnastics yesterday, and I was stitching this, but I didn't get very far because I was really invested. So I'm gonna have to work on this aside from the Olympics, obviously. But it's a real pleasure to work on. The border is really nice. I have counted ahead to the end of the page because I wanted to make sure that I could just kind of work and not have to, you know, if it's 7, 7, 7, 7, like is there an 8 in here or a 6 in there or something, but no irregularities in the first page. So I just went and got my groove on. I did this while I was watching the women's relay swimming and the qualifying trials for the men. A lot of fun. And I love it. I just record it and I just pick and choose what I want to watch. So, okay. Those are all my new starts. It's enough. New starts, I think. I'm going to pause, put the new starts away so that I have a place to put the whips. I'll be right back. All right, so now the whips. I'm going to go in a little bit of order, but not really. They've been worked on in and out. So I worked on Jane Atkinson. I'm using the called for Verswa silks on 40 count platinum by Zweigart. It's a very large piece of fabric. All right, I know I've worked on filling this in. I've brought this down, this, and I believe I brought the border of this down as well. The colors are just so beautiful. It's a little bit of a labor of love. Sometimes I don't feel like stitching with silk. When the thread slips out of the needle, I get a little frustrated, and so I have to be a little bit more careful about how I'm holding the needle and the thread, and you know, it's not a big deal, but it's a slight, very small barrier to working on it. Black Cat Season, excuse me, is a series of charts. I had finished the first one and I've started the second one. I'm doing the pull, bell pull version, so I'm adding the borders in between. So this is number 2. So I've done I did the border, I stitched all the words, and I'm working on the fence at the bottom. And then I'll come up, do the cat and the moon. This is on the called for fabric, which is a Grace Notes Blackberry Latte, using the called for thread. I bought it as a kit from Lindy Stitches. The next thing I worked on was the Namari tapestry, which is here. It's in a very not fancy mesh bag. Not everything has to be in a beautiful bag. But Namari tapestry looks like this. Don't mind my printing. The magenta decided it wanted to be everywhere. So I am stitching this on a 40 count. Picture This Plus. I can never remember the name of it. Is it Shadow? Yeah, Shadow. And I am using Gentle Art Heirloom Gold. And that's what it looks like. So I know I brought it all the way up. This is the top. This is the width. As you can see, I started to get a little anxious about my margins. They are short, but sufficient. I put some words in. I started filling in this border. Really beautiful. Hard to work on. With good, I have a good light and I have magnification if I need it. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I don't typically have a problem working on black fabric, but this piece in particular, and I don't know if it's the 40 count in particular, if it's the Picture It Plus. What is the name of the fabric? Picture This Plus fabric, the method they use to dye, this dye, or whatever it is, but it's really fuzzy, and I don't think you'll be able to see it. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Yeah, it won't focus close enough to see it, and it wasn't until I started using magnification that I saw how fuzzy the fabric really was. I did take a lint roller over the part that I'm like, if I'm gonna work in an area, I take the lint roller over it just to see. I do have dogs and a cat, so you know, if it's any of that, but it really is not pleasant to work on. But I love the effect that it's giving, and I will persevere. But like, even looking at it with a naked eye, I can see there's just fuzz. Let's see. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. No, but it's fuzzy. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy was this piece of linen. So, it could just be that it's old too, and it's been knocked around my stash for, you know, a couple of years, and that's done it in, you know, but just an FYI. The next thing I worked on was Thurza Priscilla Dawes. I have this in a dot dot goose bag. Thurza comes in 2 colorways. The bright and sort of muted. I took the bright version and put it on a piece of Oaken 32 count Lugana and converted the floss to sulky. And we're getting there. This is a whip go call. I have one more whip go call for this. I don't think that'll finish it out, but it'll be close. Where I worked down here, filling out that vine. I also worked over here, up here. All of these motifs are done now, I think. I was trying to fill everything in. I had like some bird eyes to fill in and things like that. So I've been trying to fill in. I've brought the vine down over. I filled this in. I've done a lot of work since you saw it last, but there's this whole other side to do. But it looks beautiful. This is by Hemlock and Rye, if I didn't say. And it comes, when you buy the pattern, you get both color versions. So you could do the muted, you could do the bright, you could mix and match. I think there's also a Thursday Goes Goth now that's an official release. So there's lots of options. Let's do Pandemic Sampler. This was also a Whipco call. This is in a Joanna 1966 bag. This is Pandemic Sampler, which don't use these bags. Don't use these bags with printed paper. It will be stuck in there forever. So, FYI there. So this is what it looks like. This is by Sarcy Girl. I am doing mostly the called for colors. I replaced one thread with something similar. This is on 40 count Picture This Plus Heritage. And this is what it looks like now. I worked up here at the top. I put this motif in, the owl, that deer, maybe even that lady. I've put in more of the flowers. Not quite halfway, but almost. I think about like 47%. I finally got this into Pattern Keeper, and that made all the difference and really increased my stitching time. Just made it so much easier. This has one more Whipco call too, I think. The next thing I worked on is Possum Song from one moment, Mama Witch Stitch. It'll look like this. He's a cutie. I'm stitching this on 20 count Black Ada. And I finished his little possum body, minus the tail. Tail is still in progress. But I think pretty much all of this is new and all of this is new. So I put some real work in to get him finished up. I had made an error in here in like one of these shadow areas, and I was trying to like fudge around it, and finally I was like, it doesn't really matter if it's like the darkest or the second darkest, just stitch it so that it looks, you know, okay, and you'll never know. Like I couldn't even tell you what the mistake is anymore, but it was really throwing me for a loop. He looks so cute. Her patterns are beautiful. I have so many of them I want to stitch, but I want to finish this one first. This is in an 805 stitcher bag. The next thing I worked on is Home of a Needleworker 2. I'm stitching this on a 40 count Vintage Country Mocha Zweigart with my own floss conversion, and I've put a lot of work into this. Oh, I should show you the pattern. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it before, but this is the finished project. I've added this vine, the roof. I think I finished filling in the windows. I think I didn't have the top part of this even. Really, really fun. This one's about like 60% of the way done, I think. So, and it's on Wet Go one more time as well, so I have another opportunity to pull it out. The next thing I worked on is in Joanna 1966 bag. It's Autumn by the Cricut Collection. I'm using the Cold for floss. I'm stitching it on a 32 count Bestitch Me Lugana in Bronze Age. And I had stitched the U and the moon before, so I came over here, I started adding the crow, I started adding the T, the tree that's up here, the owl. It's gonna be really pretty when it's done. The next thing I worked on was Equality Sampler by Plum Street. I worked on this on July 4th. Equality Sampler by Plum Street looks like this. I'm stitching mine on 36 count Shrekie's Tan. And this is what it looks like. What I worked on, I have continued filling in this flower. There's just a little bit left. I brought this border over down. I stitched the house. I started the full fill-in, added a vine. I think I did a little bit of over one as well. All of the words on this are over one. In this light, you can really see the contrast. Depending on what the lighting is in person, it's sometimes ghosts a little bit. I mean, you can see this darker brown, but sometimes this outer bit of the petal gets a little bit lost. This is going to be surrounded by blue, but I did change this. So I'm stitching it with 2 threads. Rather than 1. So the rest of this is 1 over 1. I'm stitching the white 2 over 2. I'm sorry. The rest of this is 1 over 2, and I'm stitching this 2 over 2 because I wanted it to be a little bit more prominent. So you can see, you know, there's a little bit of see-through through the dark color. I don't mind that so much. From a distance, it's fine. But for this, it was really, really faded and hard to see. So what I did is I actually took 1 strand of parchment, which is what's called for, and 1 strand of ecru, and stitched them together, just to save a little bit on the fancy floss. We're almost done. 2 more whips. So the next thing I worked on was Garden of Erie by Plum Street Samplers, which looks like this. I am stitching this on 30 count Old Salem by Primitive Hair with the Called For floss. And this is where I'm at. what I've done is I've started filling in the tree. I've finished all the branches. I've started adding the leaves. A lot of just 310 and these leaves, but it looks so good on this fabric. A lot of fun. And this is also in a Joanna 1966 bag. And the last whip is in a bag that I don't know the maker of. I'm really sorry about that. Which is Christmas by Renato Parolin. So I did some Jolly July, Christmas in July stitching. Previously I had finished the top 2 tiers and most of this 3rd tier, and I have since finished the 3rd tier and brought the trunk down. I am stitching this on 40 count buttermilk by, Fiber on a Whim buttermilk. Every time I look at it on camera, I'm just so in love. I'm stitching this in pretty much the called for, but there are some substitutions for DMC colors I didn't have. I changed some of the greens just to be something I had on hand and to also go together. And I changed out the white for the DMC. I can never remember what it's called. Not Effects. Diamant. The Diamant. People complain about Krennic. This is the thing to complain about, let me tell you. No fun. Probably not bad on other fabrics besides 40 count. I didn't know better. I love the effect of it though. It's so shiny in person. So anywhere where there's snow, it's got that sparkle. And I love that. And those are the whips. I'm not going to do haul. There's been a lot of haul. There were a few days where I was really sick and not able to stitch, and things were purchased. So if I can't stitch, I want to buy stitchy stuff, or at least look at stitchy stuff. But I'll just talk about it as I use it. I bought fabric and floss, and I got, you know, my floss clubs and fabric clubs and things like that. And yeah. Thanks so much for joining me. Sorry for being absent for so long. I do really enjoy doing videos. Glad to be here. If you have any questions, if there's anything you want some more information on, please just leave a comment below. Happy to answer any questions. As always, take care and enjoy every stitch. See you next time.